the idea of stepping outside of your comfort zone. That a lot of times, I'm sure you've all seen that image where, you have a circle and then a dot outside of the circle, and it's like that's where the magic happens outside of the circle. So here's your comfort zone, and then step outside of the comfort zone. Um, and it's really true. And I think sometimes, especially as we get older, when you're a kid, everything scares you because everything's new, and so it doesn't scare you because it's just the medium you live in, right? It's just like try new things every day. And I think as we get older, it's harder to um, challenge that aspect of ourselves, that really do something every day that scares you. That's the bottom line. Try to do something every day that scares you just a little bit. And it can be simple things like starting a creative process, or having a conversation that's difficult, or walking on weird rocks and jumping off of them, or you name it, getting on your bicycle if you have not been on a bike in a while. There's many things that can scare us physically. There's many things that can frighten us emotionally, mentally. So do something that scares you a little bit every single day. And if we manage to do that, we really step outside of our comfort zone. And this is where growth happens. This is where we cultivate the capacities to expand ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I've never really regretted stepping outside of my comfort zone. I mean, when you do something that is a little scary to you, most often you don't regret it. You kind of get elated a little bit from it and have this feeling of accomplishment. And even if it's something so simple, it can really have profound impact on your capacity to feel expansive. So close your eyes and think about what it is that you could do today, something small. Remember, all these things can be baby steps. You don't have to, quit your job and sell your house and move to another country, right? It doesn't have to. Ruth's already done that. She's already taken that big, huge leap, right? So it doesn't have to be a huge thing like that. It just can be small things. So let's think of something that you can do today that scares you just a little bit. Try to live in that comfortably uncomfortable state, where it's uncomfortable to try new things. It's uncomfortable to step into the unknown. Can we learn to be a little more comfortable in the uncomfortable? So start to settle in your body. Drop some awareness down through your spine into your pelvis and your legs. Cultivate that feeling of groundedness. How are you in your body today? Do you feel at home, at ease? Do you feel like you're in a little bit of a foreign land? Is there any places in your body that need support and care today? Any places that need your kindness? How is your breath today? Can you observe the freedom of breathing? Whatever that is for you today, maybe your breath isn't very free right now, and that's okay. Enjoy what breath is happening. Start to pay attention to how it feels to be in your body and how it feels to breathe. You don't have to have any expectations of changing anything. Just come into that state of presence. Do you have an open heart, or do you feel a little collapsed? Is there strain through your skull, or is there ease? Is it easy to lift your spine up, or is it challenging? Do your shoulders easily slide back, or do they hunch forward? How is your posture today? And notice the subtle act of paying attention starts to create shifts. What have you changed since you closed your eyes and started noticing? Let's place our hands together. Lift your sternum toward your palms. Bow in. Offer an intention for yourself. And then release the hands. And let's come onto our back. Okay, so come to lie down. Feel into that state of what your body's feeling like today. Okay, so when you come down onto your back, notice if there's just a little shifting of your energy in some way. Let's stretch. Stretch your right side, stretch your left side. Maybe a yawn happens naturally. Maybe squeezing happens naturally. Maybe you want to wiggle your fingers or your toes, or you roll your wrists or your ankles. So just find whatever movement, the little movements that you want to wake up your body with. Maybe it means stretching your whole sides. All right. And then as you're ready, bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug. Maybe you want to rock. Maybe you want to have some stillness. Just see what feels good. Try your best in your practice whenever you step on your mat, not just today, to always follow the instincts of your body. Trust yourself. Of course, it's good to learn the postures and alignment and all that, but really the buck stops with what you're sensing in your body. That's the bottom line. So trust yourself more than any words that get thrown at you by anybody else. Okay, let's circle a little bit. Maybe the knees can find their way into circling one direction and then circling another direction. All right, and then when you're ready, maybe circle, open your hips up and move them away from each other, your knees away from each other, and then bring them back in toward each other. So little circles in your hips now. All right, right knee into your chest, left leg comes along on the floor, and let's roll the ankles. Get them to circle a little bit. And circle the other way. Feel free to add some toe wiggles. Just get your feet to wake up. And then change sides, left knee in, right leg long on the floor. Keep moving your ankles around. We get so caught up with shoes throughout our day that it's good to have some naked feet and let them stretch and open up to space. All right, knees back in. Feel your spine rock around a little bit. And then if it's comfortable, this is a very big thing to do right away. Grab onto your feet for a very gentle, happy baby pose. If your feet are too far away because we haven't warmed up yet enough, grab behind your knees and just let your back relax a little bit. We're gonna get into some forward bends today. So just wanted to kind of test a baseline of how your spine feels when you have a deep bend in your hips as well as a little rounding in your back. All right, and then release your legs, stretch them straight out. Starfish, open your body wide, stretch your hands and your feet. And while you're out here, squeeze everything you have access to. Squeeze all the muscles in your legs, your glutes, your torso, your arms. Stretch your hands, squeeze your face. And then relax that and bring your knees into your chest. Pick your head up and do another squeeze. Take a deep breath in, let all your air out. And then squeeze your face, squeeze your core, squeeze everything you can. And then one more gentle starfish opening. No more squeezing unless you want to squeeze. Stretch open the body. And then exhale. Draw the knees into the chest. Let's roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. And start moving the spine around. You can start with cat-cows or you can start in any other movement that feels really good. We're just warming up our spine. As you move, start to notice, where do you feel free? Where is there some little stop signs in your spine? How about your sacrum? Where our sacroiliac joints are is very crucial to how we move our spine. So let's just notice. All right, and then if you feel comfortable on your knees, if you have enough padding, lift up your feet just a couple of inches off the floor and wag your feet left and right. And you can start doing this, you know, a little, it doesn't have to be super rapid, but it doesn't have to be super slow. And then after a couple rounds of that, we're going to turn to bring your feet over to the left, turn and look out over your feet and let your back open up on the side. And then go the other direction. Bring your feet over to the other side, looking out over your ankles. And then come back to neutral child's pose. Stretch back. Find the breath. Open up the back spine. See if you can let the breath travel all the way down your spine. Now we often do this with our arms moving to the sides, and we will in a moment. But first we're going to do this a little differently with our legs. So we're going to come up onto all fours. Spin your shins off to the left and drop back down towards child's pose. And then come back up, spin your shins off to the right and come back towards child's pose. And one more time, each side, back onto all fours. Take your feet over to the other side, drop down. Inhale to come back up, bring your feet over to the other side. And drop your pelvis down. Come back to a neutral child's pose. Settle your hips. Take your knees wherever you want them to be. Now we'll walk the upper body over. So the arms walking over to the side of your mat, maybe even off your mat. Extend through the side of your body. Reach from your fingers to your pelvis. Notice where the stretch is heightened. Notice where it's not very obvious. See if you can reach into the not very obvious places and open them up. And then walk your hands over to the other side. Drop weight into the hips. Relax the base of the skull. Deepen your breath. Okay, come back up onto all fours and move the spine around. Swish and sway. Curl the toes under and stretch your feet back on curled under toes. Or stretch your hips back, I should say. So just open up the bottom of your feet. I know this isn't so comfortable for a lot of toes, so just go where your body is able to go. And then we're going to curl that under all the way and find your way to dog pose. Bend your knees a lot, more than you might ordinarily do. And feel the pelvis rise up. See if you can feel that the spine is long and spacious. Root through the hands. Don't forget about the index finger mounds. Find that grounding. Breathing well. And then while the knees are very bent, stretch one heel down toward the ground. Doesn't have to reach the ground. Just stretching through your soleus muscle and your Achilles, and then lift that heel back up and try the other one. So knees are deeply bent. One more time each side. Just finding your way to stretching the calf muscles. You know, you have this muscle underneath the big strong calf muscle. You have another muscle called your soleus, and this is a great way to stretch that muscle. All right, two knees bent, lift the sit bones high, straighten the legs a little bit more. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Shake your hips, shake your shoulders, shake your head. You can bounce a little, just whatever is going to help you. Halfway lift, spine gets longer, legs get longer. Exhale and melt again. Push off your feet and rise up. So now let's remember that when, just a little reminder of a tutorial about forward bending, that, when you're here and if you bend from your spine, which a lot of people tend to do unconsciously when you go down and pick something up off the floor, this is actually very hard on the low back. A better way to bend is to imagine that your pelvis is rolling over your femur bones instead of your spine rolling over your pelvis. So let your femur bones drop back and let the whole pelvis roll around your femur bones. And that might mean your knees need to bend. But when you come forward, your spine will be a lot straighter than if you try to bend forward with your back and your legs straight. Okay, so this is a much safer variation if you always think of trying to roll your pelvis over your femur bones instead of your spine over your pelvis. And when we come in and out of different postures, this is really important. So let's all practice this together. When we're down here in Uttanasana and it's time to get up, and it doesn't matter whether your legs straighten, all the way or some of the way, how you get up matters. So instead of just rising up with your spine or rounding up with your spine, see what it feels like to drop your hips low, like you're gonna sit down, push off your feet and let your chest lift you up. Okay, so if you look at me for a moment, this is very different. So if we drop our hips down like we're gonna sit and have our chest do the lifting, that's a very different thing than this, where we're here and then we round up, which is challenging for a lot of people's spine. So see if you can get in and out or up and down in your postures like that as much as you can. We do this transition a lot in yoga where we come up and we go down and we come up and we go down. So if you can minimize the impact on your spine during those transitions, your back will thank you in another 50 years or so. Okay, so lift your arms up to the sky,
Jenny.
Find your heart, reach it to the sky, open your chest, cactus your arms a little bit if it feels nice to do so. Okay, and then release the arms down and shake out the hands.
Jenny, could something be getting in the way of your...
Big breath, open the chest. Okay, and then exhale and release the hands down. Third time's a charm. Rising up, open the chest, spread out your wings, and bend your knees and float forward. Relax your head, wag your tail if you want. Halfway lift. I like to use blocks, so maybe you do too. Maybe you like to put your hands on your legs. Either way. Now find this half lift and hang out here for a moment. Feel the sit bones lift really high, regardless of whether your knees are straight or bent. If they're straight, try not to hyperextend them. See if you can feel that your pelvis is rolling over your femur bones. Let your pubic bone kind of pass through the inner thighs so that you feel that it's your pelvis that's moving instead of your spine. Reach the crown, reach the tail, get long in your spine. Root through your feet, so the big toe mounds, the inner heels, the outer pinky toes, the outer heels. See if you can find all four corners of your feet grounding, and then rise up through your arches like a bootstrap on the center of your foot, lifting to your thighs. Extend the spine. Exhale and melt. Bend your knees. Step your front foot back or left foot back. Right foot comes forward, finding a lunge. See what it feels like to keep the long spine here. So often we tend to round a little bit in our back. See if you can keep the extension going. And as you straighten the front leg a little bit, notice what happens in your spine. So we're opening up the hip flexors of the back leg, opening up the hamstrings of the front leg as we move back and forth into a bent front knee and a straighter front leg. Do not worry about taking your whole leg straight. Just go where your body allows. So notice the spine. Do you tend to round the back? What happens when you have to stretch your hamstrings? What's the response in your vertebrae? All right, so find your way into a lunge. Rise up, bring the arms wherever you want them to be. Open your body up, reach back if it feels nice to do so. See what kind of awakening you can get in your spine here. Anything you want with your arms, whatever feels really good to you today. Find the breath. All right, we're going to take a little twist here. You can have your hands out to the sides. Your hands can stay on your hips. Just start to awaken all the muscles along your spine. And then bring them back up. Hands come down, back foot comes forward. Bend your knees and float into a deep forward fold. Let the femur bones deeply move back against the hips. See if you can let your spine rest. Then inhale for a halfway lift, hands on blocks or legs. Feel the feet again, four corners, lift arches, lift femur bones up into the hips and draw the heads of the femur bones back. Lift the tail. Notice that your sacrum and your pelvis usually work together. That's the goal, right? Is to have, the nutation of the sacrum be matching the anterior and posterior tilting of the pelvis. See what it feels like to lift the sit bones, which are part of your pelvis, and lift the tailbone simultaneously. Feel that your pelvis just rolled into an anterior tilt. Stay grounded in your legs. And then bend your knees and relax. Let's step our other foot back. So now our left foot is forward, our right foot is back. Finding the lunge. Expand your crown away from your tail. Enjoy the openness of that back leg. How's your breath? When you get kind of caught up in sensation in the body, we sometimes forget to stir that other burner and notice what the breath is doing. Let's start moving your front leg a little bit, bending and straightening your front knee. So try to notice how the spine responds to this. Do you tend to round the back a whole lot when you straighten your leg some? Just see what you can do to maintain a sense of length through your spine. All right, and then when you're ready, ground your legs again. Feel the feet root into the earth and then rise up. Okay, so once again, where do your arms want to be today? What's giving you best breath? What's giving you most ease, most stability, that sense of freedom in the body? Are you enjoying being present? When you come into your practice, what is it that you love about it? Can you feed yourself with that joy? All right, let's turn and open to the side. Maybe your hands stay on your hips. Maybe your hands come out to the sides. Whatever feels nice. Chest is broad, collarbones broad. Stay in your lunge. Ground your front foot. Press your heel into the earth. Feel your glutes turn on. And then come back around to center. Find your breath. Hands come down onto the ground. Dog pose. Okay. Bend your knees as much as you want, a little bit or a lot. Whatever feels good, whatever allows you to lift the sit bones, lift the tailbone. Feel that anterior tilt to the pelvis. Notice the neutral spine when you do this. Find the breath. All right, let's come forward into a plank. Sturdy and stable in the body. You can always put your knees down onto the ground if you need to. Find that sense of holding yourself with a lot of different muscle groups. The back of your body, so the shoulder blades moving a little bit toward each other. The front of your body, your chest, your core, your inner thighs. Find a lot of work here. Distribute the effort across your body well. All right, let's come down onto the ground. You can put your knees down first. I always put my knees down first to protect my shoulders, but you don't have to. Whatever works for your body. Let's roll the shoulders a few times. Just get that awakening of what it feels like to move the shoulder blades away from the ears. And then when you're ready, rise up to a cobra. Elbows stay bent. Bring your elbows back toward the feet. See if you can ground your hands. Move into your legs. Exhale and lower yourself back down. Hopefully you didn't hold your breath that whole time. Let's come on up. Let's just do one breath, one movement. So up on the in-breath and down on the out-breath. This next one, hover your hands off the floor. Allow your elbows to reach back toward your pelvis. Stabilize your core. Press your legs, your feet into the ground. Feel the muscles along your spine start to kick into gear. The neck stays long and neutral. Find your breath. All right, let's go ahead and relax. Come up onto all fours. Swish the spine around a little bit. Find that freedom. And then stretch back. We're going to do child's pose in 2 different ways. So lift anterior tilt to the pelvis. Lift your sit bones and drop your femur bones back. Notice what your spine feels like when you're in an anterior tilt to the pelvis. Breathe into the spine. And then come back up onto all fours. Now tuck the tail. So this is a posterior tilt. So practice a little bit. Lift the tail. That's anterior tilt of the pelvis. Tuck the tail. That's posterior tilt of the pelvis. So just notice. Now in this posterior tilt, let's move back towards child's pose. And it's going to feel incredibly different. So just notice the sensation change in your body. Usually an anterior tilt is much safer for the spine if you have some vertebral issues. So be very mindful with this posterior tilt and make sure you're okay in your back. Okay, and then let's practice each of them one more time. Anterior tilt, lift your sit bones, lift your tailbone, and then drop back. There's a deeper compression in your hip joints, and there's a lot more softness in the spine. I hope you can feel that difference. And then when we come up, let's try that posterior tilt now. Tailbone tucks under, stretch back towards child's pose. There's a lot more freedom in the femur bone hip joint area, but the spine has a lot of, you can feel, it's a big stretch, but it also feels somewhat compressive to the disc space of the lumbar spine. Okay, let's go ahead and come on up and erase all that from your body. Swish your hips around. We're going to come to lie down on our on our right side for a moment. So come onto your right side. We're going to have your hands supporting your head. If you want to put a blanket or a block there, you can. Other arm comes up and touches the top of your head, fingertips to the top of your head. When we're doing this pose, it's very simple. We're going to pick up our feet and pick up our chest a little bit and then lower them back down. So our knees stay on the floor. Take a deep breath in, and when you exhale, lift your chest, lift your feet, and then inhale to come back down. It's counterintuitive to exhale on the way up sometimes, so see if you can match that. Exhaling, feet and chest come up, inhaling, coming back down. A couple more. This is your quadratus lumborum, one of your deep low back muscles that you're feeling engagement with here. All right, and then roll over onto your back. And we're just going to roll right over to the other side so that you can find being on your left now. Okay, so feel into this posture. Bend your knees. Your right hand is on the top of your head. We're going to exhale to lift your feet and your chest. Inhale to come back down. Try not to grip your neck. It's really about your spine doing the movement, your chest doing the movement, not pulling on your head. That's why our fingertips are just gentle on the top of the skull. The knees stay down, the feet pick up. Exhale on the way up. And then inhale on the way down. Let's do 2 more. Do you notice a difference on either side? Is it harder on one side? Do you feel any different types of sensation? Is your neck wanting to get involved on one side more than the other? Okay, come onto your back and draw your knees into your chest and just relax for a moment. Okay, let's get our transverse abdominis turned on. This is a really important spine stabilizer. Okay, so 2 feet down onto the ground. Draw your left knee down into your left hip. So we're anchoring our left leg, the left side of our pelvis, and open up the right knee like you're butterflying it out to the side and then bringing it back up. Transfer the weight. Right knee anchors into right pelvis. Open up left knee out to the side. Make sure you're still breathing. It's sometimes hard so we're just switching back and forth between our 2 sides. Sometimes it's very difficult to breathe well when we're engaging our transverse abdominis because our transverse abdominis
and our diaphragm have a very important relationship with each other. So see if you can still move the diaphragm a bit, still have that sense of breath moving through you, even as we stabilize the core. Okay, so just turn on some of those lower fibers. Remember, your transverse abdominis, or your TA, is your corset muscle that wraps around your torso and holds your organs in. And it's very important. When we hold our organs in, we have support against our vertebrae, especially our lumbar spine. So very important muscle for stabilizing the back. Whenever you hear people say, oh, just strengthen your core to protect your back, this is the muscle that they're talking about. Okay, so now after you anchor the right and lower the left and lift it back up again, just sit here and breathe and notice, where do you feel any fatigue? Do you feel it in your back, in your front, in your sides? Find the breath. And we're going to add just a little bit more to this now. So lift your knees, our feet off the floor. And we're going to bring our arms out like a T. Up overhead is more challenging. Down at your sides is easiest. T is kind of in the middle. So you really choose which way you want to be. And we're going to drop one heel down toward the ground and lift the other one up. And see if you can keep that transverse abdominis as we switch. Now the other heel comes down. As you switch from side to side, kind of lowering your heel and keeping your other leg up in the air, we're engaging our psoas muscles now, which is another very important muscle for stabilizing the spine. But we're also engaging the TA. So there's nothing, rocket science about this. It's pretty simple, maybe not easy, but simple. We don't have to do extravagant things to get our core to turn on. How are you breathing? Now, if this is too much, you can always also keep your feet on the ground and lift a knee and then drop it down, and then lift the other knee and drop it down. There's always ways to make things harder. There's always ways to make things easier, depending on where your strength is at on any given day. Okay, let's relax. Bring your knees into your chest. Rock a little bit. Okay. All right, last one we're going to do before we get up. Arms are out to the sides again. And then, actually, our arms are not going to be out to the side. We're going to have our hands. So we're going to open up our knees like a butterfly. Have your elbows on the ground next to your body and your hands straight up like robot arms, okay? And then bring your knees out until your palms touch your knees. So we're a little externally rotated in the legs, but not severe like Supta Baddha Konasana. Now touch your toes together, find your breath, and we're going to do some shin circling, feet circling. So keep the knees right up against the hands. So it's not the knees that are going to be moving in space. It's our feet that are going to be doing some big circles. So touching the toes and then big concentric circles. Come back to touch the toes. And now we're going to go the other direction. Now see if you can keep the core engaged the whole time you're doing this. Now go the other direction one more time. Find your core. Relax your neck. One more time, the second direction. Circling the other way. Our knees are staying stationary as our feet do big circles. All right, stretch to a starfish. Arms and legs stretching out. Let your hip flexors lengthen. Exhale, knees into your chest. Roll over onto your side and come up onto all fours. Move the spine around, swish and sway, cat-cow, anything that's going to kind of nourish your back. And then take your right leg straight back behind you and your left arm out in front of you. Find the core. Stabilize through the center of your body. Neutral pelvis. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Elbow and knee come underneath you. Try not to just round the back up to do this. See if you can stay long. Inhale and lengthen out. Exhale, use your hip flexors. Keep your spine long as you draw your knee in. Reach the arm and leg out. And now take your elbow and knee out to the side. Cactus your arms, feel your core. Cactus your leg, feel your core. Keep breathing. And then reach that arm and leg. Feel the strength of back body and front body together. And then place your hand and knee onto the ground. Second side, reach that leg out. Arm up, thumb toward the sky. Notice if this is a more or less stable version of this. Which side do you prefer? Notice if your back is swaying. See if you can integrate front and back body. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, elbow and knee come in. Try not to over round the spine. Inhale, bring it out. Exhale, bring it on in. Inhale. Lengthen out. Now we're going to cactus. The elbow and the knee come out to the side, so we're right angles. Use your core. Try not to just use your hip to do this. Use your core too. Find your breath. And then reach that arm and leg out. Hand down onto the ground. Dog pose. So just notice the wakefulness in your back, in your core, and your hips. Feel the breath. Feel free to pedal your feet or do any kind of movement in dog pose that feels really good. Okay, let's walk our feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Let's practice standing up properly. Drop your hips down like you're gonna sit in a chair. Lift your chest. Rise up, bring the arms to the sky. And then exhale and relax. Step your right foot forward, your left foot back. If you can, grab some blocks. You'll need them. Okay. Finding your breath. All right, extend through the spine. So our stance is not long like a lunge. We're in a shorter stance, Parsvottanasana. Reach the arms up in the air. Find your breath. Maybe arms out to the side like we did when we were on the floor. Arms overhead is harder. Arms down at your side is easiest. Arms out is middle way, so find wherever along that path is right for you. Extend your spine. So now our hamstring has to flex and stretch. Root into the four corners of both feet. Square up the hips. Engage your core to support the length of your spine. Can you feel a little anterior tilt in your pelvis? Maybe you want to put your hands on your hips to help you feel that tilt. And then rise all the way up. Let's switch sides before we do it with a block. Left foot is now forward, right foot is back. You can take your left foot out to the side as much as you want. Decide where you want your arms to be. Are they going to be up or anywhere across the path toward the, anywhere in that semicircle? Find the extension of the spine. Tip forward to wherever your body can support. So we're not going down, down, down yet. We're feeling the length of our spine. What is supporting you here? Ground the four corners of both feet. Reach that hip back. Can you have a flexion happening? Contract. It's not really a flexion, it's a contraction. Contract your glutes. Contract your hamstrings as you're stretching them, as you're lengthening them. Stay in a contraction. Extend the spine. Breathing well, support with your core. And then rise all the way up. Arms to the sky. Back foot comes forward. Chair pose. Squat down. See, you might want to block between your knees, and that's totally fine. Put your arms anywhere you want your arms to be. Okay, so drop in. Feel the femur bones. Root back. Lift and widen the sit bones so you go into an anterior tilt of the pelvis and feel the neutral lumbar spine when you do this. Breathe well. And then rise up, standing straight. Left foot comes back, short stance again. Find your breath, arms coming up to the sky. Lean forward and bring your hands to rest on blocks. So when we bring our hands on blocks, it's not like, oh good, now I get to just dump into the pose. See if you can now put all your weight into the blocks. Let them be supportive, but not completely. Reach your hip back, drop weight into your front big toe mound. Feel the inner spiral of your legs,
Let the pubic bone pass through the thighs a little bit. Feel the anterior tilt of the pelvis. Feel the tail lift. Elongate your spine. Finding the breath. Okay. And then walk your back foot forward. Chair pose one more time. Arms up. Maybe you want your legs together. Maybe you want your legs apart. Maybe you want to block. Maybe you want something different with your arms. Okay, slowly stand up onto your tippy toes you go. Find your breath. Heels down. Step your left foot forward, right foot back. Shorten up your stance, not a lunge. Adjust your feet to be just where you want them to be and climb up. Arms coming to the sky. Exhale and bring your hands onto your blocks. Lightness on the blocks. And if the blocks are too low, you can try stacking up one block on top of the other so you have a little more height. You can use furniture to do this. There's always ways to modify everything to go a little less deep. And then maybe you're very flexible and you want the blocks to be on low height or even touch the floor. Allow your hip to reach back. Inner spiral the thighs. Root the four corners of your feet. Check in with your knees and make sure you're not hyperextended. Lift the tail like it has a puppet string on it. Lift the tail. Anterior tilt the pelvis. Feel the support of your core as you lengthen through your spine. How is your breath? Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and step back to dog pose now. Long spine. Feel the balance in your legs. Bend your knees as much as you need. Feel that anterior tilt. Feel the femur bones lift up into the joints and back. And then roll the pelvis over the femur bones. Nice neutral spine. Come forward into a plank. Turn on that transverse abdominis again. Perhaps you want to come into a forearm plank to really turn on the transverse abdominis. Perhaps you want to stay in a regular plank. So your choice of where you go here. Find your breath. Stable core. Inner thighs lifting to the sky. And then we're going to come down onto the ground. Any variation of a back bend that makes your body feel great. Choose your favorite. And then exhale and melt. Come back down. Come up, swish the hips around. Find your breath and find a version of a child's pose that makes your body feel best. Is it a deep anterior tilt? Is it neutral? Do you like your knees close or far? And then come on up to dog pose when you're ready. Spread out the hands and lengthen. Take your legs wide apart. Turn your toes in so your feet are on the edges of the mat wide apart. Turn your toes in and let your inner thighs roll back. Feel the ease across your hip flexors. Relax your neck. Find your breath. All right, let's bring our feet back to the neutral position. Lift your right leg up in the air. Feel your glutes turn on. Exhale, chest is forward, knee to the center of the chest. Don't round your back. Keep it long. And then bring that leg back up. Now we bring our foot forward. Okay, shorten up the stance. So we're not in the long lunge. We're back into those Parsvottanasana legs. Rise up. Reach the left arm up in the air. Find your breath. Tip forward like we've been doing. You might need to stack a little more height underneath that hand. We're going to come into a revolved twist, Pavrita Trikonasana. Before you go flinging your arm up in the air, find your legs. Ground your feet, all four corners. Inner thighs roll back. Feel the pubic bone pass through, the tailbone lift. Neutral spine. Lengthen the neutral spine. Find your breathing. As you stay grounded in that front big toe, move your shoulder blades down the back. Maybe the arm lifts up in the air. Maybe the hand stays on your hip. Notice if you've popped your hip out to the side. See if you can keep your hips in line with your feet. All right, and then
relax and melt to come back forward. Bring your back foot up front. Uttanasana, bend your knees. Halfway lift, long spine. Step your other foot back. So now our left foot is forward and our right foot is back. Climb up to stand again. Notice, how is your body doing with the twisting? Is it okay? See if you can reach the arm up in the air, right arm up. We're going to reach that right arm forward, stack whatever stack you need underneath you. So sometimes 2 blocks is nice for this pose. Think less about depth and more about space. So who cares if your hand comes to the floor? You know, traditionally our hand's on the outside of our knee. That gets really wonky for a lot of people. So find space for the posture. You'll feel better. Inner spiral the thighs. Lift the tail. Feel the neutral spine. Ground into the feet. Unlock the knees so you can yield and push. Maybe reach the arm in the air, maybe not. How are your shoulder blades? Are your shoulders up at your ears? Can you release them down? Can you look up? I think this pose is cool because you have so many different orientations to align yourself to. Like the pelvis is aligning in one direction, the chest is aligning in another. Feel the 4 corners of your feet. And then relax and melt back down. Step that left leg all the way back. Lift it up in the air. Extend the spine. Exhale, knee to the center of the chest. Keep the spine long. Bring that leg back. Place your foot down onto the ground. Take your legs wide again. Turn toes in. Inner thighs rolling back. Feel the balance across your sacrum. Push your hands down into the ground so you feel the yielding and then the push off. Relax your neck. Okay, come forward into a really wide plank like this with our legs super wide. You can take your arms wider than you normally would too if you'd like. Find your breath. Okay, and then find your way all the way to the floor. So come down however you see fit. And then we're going to take a full pose up. So once again, decide whether you want your arms out to the sides, up overhead, or down. Find the breath and lift everything up. Back body strong. Breathing well. All right, and then come on up onto all fours and swish the spine. Drop back into your favorite version of child's pose. All right. When you're ready, flip over onto your back. Have your feet hip width apart and find a bridge. Okay. And we're just doing this to kind of reset the pelvis, to feel the grounding of our feet, to feel that our sacroiliac joints are balanced. Open up the hip flexors a little bit after all the forward bends. Reach the chest into a deep lift, open the heart. Notice if you play better in your outer feet, ground your inner feet. Okay, and then relax. And melt your hips back down. Let's do a twist. Lift your hips, scoot them right, knees up, drop them left. Enjoy the simplicity of this. Breathe into the spine. So now notice in our practice, even though I spoke of stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something that scares you. So you might have thought, oh, we're going to do something scary in our yoga practice today. And notice we didn't. So sometimes our practice is our refuge so that we have ground to move from, so that when we enter into the scary places, lift your knees back up and switch sides. When we go to the scary places, when we step outside of our comfort zone, we have some stability built within us to be able to withstand the eye. We can be the eye of the storm when things are challenging around us. We have ground. Let your practice be your ground. Kind of feed the bank of your grounding every day a little bit with your yoga practice. So then when you touch up against those moments, you have some stability. You have some courage. You have some, steadfastness built into you. All right, let's come back to neutral and take your 2 blocks, bring them underneath your outer legs, your outer knees or your outer thighs, and just rest in Supta Baddha Komasana, supported Supta Baddha Komasana for a moment. Breathing deeply, allow your shoulders to relax. Now, that's not to say that you can't do scary yoga poses. There's plenty to challenge us in our yoga practice, and some days that might be the one scary thing that you do. It's doing something that's outside your comfort zone. So your practice can serve you in so many different ways. Relax into the floor, melt what you can. When you are ready, and there's no rush. If you're like, oh, I love this, then stay. If you're ready to transition, bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. And now we'll do a full happy baby pose like we did in the beginning, but this time see if you can hold your feet. It's okay to have the back round a little bit. Feel free to rock. Feel free to breathe. And then Shavasana as you are ready. So you can take support underneath your knees. And also if your body's craving something, we didn't do any hip stretches today at all, none. So, if your body's craving a reverse pigeon pose or whatever, this is the joy of doing yoga at home. You can ignore me and not feel like you're going off course with the rest of the class. So take your time to move into Shavasana if there's something else your body's needing. As you find the settling of your practice, there's no rush to enter into that soft place of Shavasana. But when you do, notice how beautiful it is. This ability to drop your energy, to surrender. There's nothing you have to do. There's nowhere you have to be. There's no responsibilities on your shoulders. There's just rest. So let your body respond to that knowledge and drop into the earth. Let your bones get heavier. All your sinew, all your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, your soft tissue, all of it can unwind. Take a little bit of the tension away. Find your breath and dance within it. Just feel yourself live inside your breathing.
Let's begin to deepen our breath. Begin to move your body in ways that are comfortable. Let's eventually find our way onto our side. Let's find our way up. Let your heart open. The courage of the day. Let's offer our practice outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a blessed day.